Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut and sew a bubu dress. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So to start, here is my fabric, which is folded into two, and for this dress you need about 3.5 to 4 yards of Ankara. The length of my dress is 64 inches on fold. So this is folded into two, like I said, and the total length is 64 inches on both sides, making it a total length of 124 inches, which is folded into two. So after that, you want to go ahead and fold it back again. That is, I'm going to do all my cutting and measurements together. Now I'm going to go ahead to place this and I will start inserting my measurements. So at this point, I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder divided by 2 and then add the length of the sleeve that you want to make. So I'm using 10 inches and I will be adding extra 1 inch to it, or half, because of the folding allowance, or the allowance to add a band to it. So next, I'll mark my neckline of 3 by 1 inch for this, because it will be serving for both the front and the back, because I'm cutting my pattern together. So there are two ways of marking out your bubu. You can go ahead to create a shoulder slant at the shoulder and connect it, or you can just cut it out together like a cut together dress. So from this point, I'm going to measure the sleeve of the dress, that is the length of the sleeve or the opening. I'm using 10 inches plus 1 inch for sewing allowance, and I'll go ahead to connect. So next, for your measurements, there are different ways of cutting out a bubu. If you want your bubu to be free, all you need to do is just use your hip circumference divided by 4 plus 3 inches. Unless you don't want your bubu to be too free, all you're going to do is to go ahead and mark your shoulder to bust, and at your bust line you will insert your bust circumference plus 3 inches and mark. You also repeat that for your waist and hip. So for this particular bubu, I want it to be a bit free, so I'll be using the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 3 inches and I'll mark. So I'll be using that measurement to mark all through the dress, and after I'm done marking, I'll place back my tape and make sure that the measurement is accurate. So after I'm done marking here, I'll be taking down this measurement all the way to the lower part of the dress, which I'm using my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 3. So after marking, I'll just create like a smooth curve from the armhole to the body of the dress, and I'll go in a bit just to make the bust area not to be too big, since I'm using the hip circumference at this point, and I'll go ahead to reconnect. So after marking this, the next step is just to go ahead to use that measurement, which is your hip circumference divided by 3, and I'll mark this all the way to the lower part of the dress. So that 3 inches, the sewing allowance is also included in the measurements of the dress. So I'll mark this all the way to the lower part of the dress, and after I'm done marking, I'll go ahead to cut this out. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out, and after I'm done cutting out, I'll cut out the neckline. Next, I'll just go ahead to open this up and notch the midpoint of the dress. So that is the midpoint of the neckline. I'll open up this pattern this way, and if you notice, the sleeve is together and also the shoulder is together. So for the front part of this dress, I want to extend the neckline to at least 8 inches. So I'll mark extra 6.5 inches from the actual neckline. So this is the midpoint of the shoulder. You also want to take note of that. So next, from this point now, I'll go in by 2 inches. So this 2 inches is what will replace the midpoint of this dress. So if you don't want yours to be a bit bold, you can use 1.5 inches, but for me, I'm using 2 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark out these 2 inches and I'll connect it to the neckline. So next, I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out. So you also want to take note or measure what you have around the neckline, but to still go ahead to remeasure it. The next step is to start stitching the dress. So to stitch the dress, I cut out this band, which is about 4 inches on fold. So there are two ways of attaching band to your dress. Either you place stitch with 1/2 inch, then turn it to the other side and fold it up and top stitch with 1/2 inch. Or you just go ahead and place it directly and stitch with 1/2 inch and weave it out much later. So anyone that is okay for you. The next step I'll take is to go ahead to join my dress after I'm done joining the band to the dress. So I'll place it together and I will go ahead to stitch this with 1 inch from the sleeve to the body of the dress. Stitch it all the way down, and I'll also stitch the other side of the dress. So after I'm done stitching, I'm just going to go ahead to notch the armhole so that it will relax very well. And you also go ahead to repeat this at the other side. So from the notched part at the neckline of your dress, place your tape and you're going to go ahead to measure this all the way down to the lower part of your dress. And whatever measurement you have there, you're going to times it by 2 because you're going to be repeating this for both sides. So after measuring, what I have is 68 inches. So instead of using that exact 68 inches, I'll add extra 2 inches to it, making it 70 inches. So 70 inches on both sides will give you 140. So I cut out the center part of this dress, and if you notice, I added a plain fabric and I used one Ankara on one side. So you're going to be ironing a stay in between it. So what we cut out from the center is about 2 inches. Now what you're going to cut or replace at this point will be 2.5 inches. That 1/2 inch will be serving as a joining allowance, and the 2.5 will be cut on fold. So each side 2.5 cut on fold will be 5 inches. So you're going to fold it over this way and you're going to join. But before joining, we'll go ahead to iron a stay in between it. After ironing the stay, this is what I have. And now you're going to find the center which you're going to notch. That is the collar of the dress that you iron the stay in. You're going to notch the center. So what you're going to do now is you're going to join it from that notched part to the other side. So remember our neckline came down by 8 inches at the front part. You mark that 8 inches point from the shoulder down. You have 8 inches. Measure here, make sure you're in order. So from that part, place your tape and you're going to measure all the way around, starting from that 8 inches you came down from and to the other side of your neckline, also where you have that 8 inches. So whatever measurement you have, mine is 27.5 and I'll mark. So here I'll mark 27 divided by 2 because my band is on fold, unless you want to start remeasuring it. And I'll place my tape from the tip of my collar. I'll mark 27 divided by 2 and mark, and then mark it over the other side. So by the time you measure this side and also measure the other side, you have a total of 27.5. So now you want to open up your collar this way. So this is the reason why you're marking this point. You're going to open up your collar this way. Those lines you marked, place it and make sure it meets. After those 2 lines meet, that is where you will start stitching from. So now you want to take note of that point and you're going to mark. So from that point, you start stitching the center of the collar. You're going to stitch it to become one piece, and you're going to stitch this all the way to the lower part of the dress. So there is an opening at the lower part. So what you're going to do now is at that lower part, you're also going to decide where you want the opening to start. You can use at least 15 inches, 20 inches. It totally depends on what you want to use, or how open you want it to be. So I'll just go ahead and I'll just mark where I want the opening to start. So this is where my stitching will stop. So for this part, I will not stitch it down. When I'm stitching and get to this point, I will not stitch again. I'll just stop, leaving here open. So I'll just go ahead and stitch down my collar, and after I'm done stitching down, this is what I have. So now it's time to join my collar to the dress. So to join it, all you have to do is just that notch part you have at your neckline, place the notched part at your collar, and you're going to start joining with 1/2 inch. So just go ahead and pin this down, and you're going to start stitching with 1/2 inch from one side to the end of the fabric. And after you're done stitching on this side, you're going to repeat the same process at the other side of the dress also. So I'll just go ahead and I'll just pin and stitch with 1/2 inch all the way down. So after I was done stitching down, this is what I have, and I'll just go ahead to iron this part to make it more relaxed. So what I'll do now is to fold this part. So what I have here is not so straight. I'll just go ahead and trim it off a bit, and I'll go ahead to fold the lower part. So to fold, I'll just fold in and I'll stitch with 1/2 inch all the way around to the other side of the dress. So after I was done stitching, this is what I have, and this is the final look of the dress.